everyone. This is J.R. Flatter, and we are here to discuss and uncover the secrets of government contracting. This is our inaugural podcast, and our distinguished guest is Ms. Brittany Chang. She's the CEO of Flatter Incorporated. So, welcome, Brittany. It's great to have you. It's no accident that we've invited you first to be our inaugural guest. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself as we get started and a little bit about your team.
Sure. So, like JR said, I'm the CEO at Flatter Incorporated. We're a small service-disabled veteran-owned business doing work across the federal government and with commercial customers, including Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, and then some civilian agencies, as well as some Fortune 500 and 1,000 commercial customers. Been in this role for about 4 years now, and I have been working at Flatter Incorporated for over a decade, mostly in the business development and capture, right in the sweet spot of the subjects that we're going to be discussing today. So I'm excited to share some of our insights with our listeners.
Great. Well, thanks for that. Our audience are our peers, and so other government contracting leaders. The reason we're recording this podcast every week is to share lessons learned, share advice, anything that might come to mind about a peer of yours, another CEO out there who's been in the business a while or trying to get in the business. What advice, what information might you offer your peer?
Yeah, well, and I think this podcast is even right in line with what we do in our industry, which is partner with our industry to meet the government's requirements. Every day we're always putting together solutions to best meet the government's needs. That involves getting small business partners, large business partners, and helping each other to fill gaps that we don't fill ourselves. So mentor protege relationships and company to company relationships like that are pretty common in our industry. So, I think that's a huge piece of advice right there, is to just network and rely on your partners and not try to do everything yourself.
I have limited time, limited resources. We talk a lot about the idea of opportunity cost. What are we doing versus what we could or should be doing? How do I know when I'm networking that it's networking of value?
I mean, the best way is to put together a call plan of exactly who you want to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to neck down that funnel from all of federal opportunities to what fits your capabilities in strategic planning, and then what you have some competitive advantage in. And so all the way through that funnel, there's points of contacts at every step. It's kind of funny though, because along the way, a lot of the mentors and partners that we benefit from sometimes are companies that we'll never share in revenue with. And so we do have those peer companies who we rely on and have amazing relationships with, but we're not sharing in revenue. But I think that has more to do with the maturity of the organization and where you are in your development and who can be the most helpful to you in that stage. I found peers who are in a similar size standard to us to be hugely advantageous, just to bounce ideas off of and talk about silly day-to-day problems like which accounting software to choose, or have you ever dealt with this SCA law and have you had issues with that? So, whatever benefits your strategic plan is who you should be talking to.
Okay, so I want government customers. So talk to government customers. Is that what you're suggesting?
That, and absolutely talk to government customers, but also talk to business owners who are in the same industry as you are and hiring the same types of people that you're hiring, and talk to companies who have done the work that you want, who are doing the type of work that you want to win.
Who else? We have contracting officers, small business offices, teaming partners.
So we define 5 constituent groups at our company, Flatter. that we're catering to on an everyday basis. And that's just like you said, the contracting officer, the small business office, your employees, your federal customers, and your teaming partners.
Hmm.
So you need to be engaging with people in all five of those categories, and not necessarily you as an individual. We kind of spread those duties across different departments in our company, but we're engaging with all five of those constituent groups every day.
Hmm. Okay. So say them again.
Small business office, contracting office, your federal customer, which could be your core, your program manager, and you might have multiple of those on your contracts, your employees and future potential employees, and your teaming partners. So your potential prime contractors and subcontractors and vendors.
Great. That's huge. Thank you for that. So talk to me a little bit about leadership. We're talking about government contracting, but talk to me about leadership of your company, of your team, maybe even of yourself.
Well, and as a provider of leadership development services, we take this very seriously at our company. We have a chief learning officer, which is you. So a lot of companies don't have that role, but um, I I would say we're actually more focused on our own employee development than most other companies and most other competitors that we have. And I think that's where the leadership really starts, is not just for yourself and for your executive team, but that you are reaching out and making sure that every single employee at your company has a professional development path. In our industry, it's really easy to be short-sighted and say, hey, this employee is only working a 3-year contract. After this, they're not going to be here anymore. But those employees leave your company and boomerang back in 7 years. And um, at one point, we had a metric that every single one of our employees of our population, 15% of them had left the company and come back. And
Wow.
we were able to benefit again from that investment that we put into our employees.
Hmm.
And it's paid huge dividends for us, even for employees who have departed. I think the cultural impact it has in investing in the individual really pays off.
Hmm. What if you make all that investment and they leave?
Well, they do leave, and absolutely that that's going to happen. Um, but I think the cultural advantage of doing it and the level of employee engagement you get from investing in your employees, that directly benefits your customer. So they're going on government site, and they're motivated, and they're getting their project management certification, and you're getting better CPARs, and you're having higher employee retention. So I think it benefits every aspect of our contract execution.
Okay. Thank you. Talk to us about your leadership journey. How'd you end up in the CEO chair, and are you having fun?
So my journey is pretty unique, I guess. So I'm your daughter. So I grew up with an entrepreneur in the household, and I think it was somewhat contagious for me. I got really excited about the prospect of running a company and running the business, and in particular serving the Marine Corps at the time. Which, having grown up in the Marine Corps, I was really excited to continue supporting them. Um, so just, yeah, a combination of the passion of the mission and also the idea of owning a business and running a business. So I went to school to study that. When I went to get my undergrad, most of our services were in IT professional services. And so I went to get a degree in management information systems, which is a business degree with an IT flavor, and absolutely loved that, and came back to Flatiron and continued um, kind of gathering up experiences in every department, from accounting, finance, contract execution, business development, proposals, of course. So, just making sure I was well rounded in the company as a whole. because I think we all always had an unwritten agreement that we were gonna do this together, and I'm absolutely loving it and enjoying it. And now I'm continuing my education and getting my master's degree in Homeland Security. Um, and it's kind of having taken a decade-long break from my undergrad now to my master's. It took some getting used to doing the research and the reading and getting back in that mode, but I'm really enjoying that as well.
Okay. So do I need all of that if I'm going to be a leader in government contracting? Do I need a master's degree? Do I need a business degree?
Absolutely not. I don't think you need a master's degree. I don't think you need an MBA. What I think you do need is an insatiable appetite for learning. And however you pursue that, it's different for everyone. But our industry is always changing. Our national security missions are always changing. The competitive landscape is always changing. So you really have to be willing to digest the changes, look forward at where the government is heading and where your company is going to meet those needs. And I think, going back to school could be one of those ways. Cybersecurity changes so quickly that if you got a certification in that today, I'm sure it's going to be so much different than it was 10 years ago. So I do think the learning process is important to success.
Yeah. So one of the requirements of being a guest on this podcast is to tell us one of your secrets. I know you've been in business 20 years. You've been in the business full time for 10 years. Um, Tell us one of your secrets.
Hmm. Yeah, but the secret sauce. So I'm going to give away a secret recipe here. And it's so simple. So one of my secrets in this industry is to send your employees birthday cards.
Mm,
And it seems, super simple, but that's just one of the things that we do for our employees to make them feel part of the larger flatter. Um, on government side, I think it's really easy to, out of sight, out of mind, that you don't see your employees and you're billing for the contract every month. But it's so important for us to connect directly with our employees, and that's one of the ways we do it. And I think it really helps with retention and making the employee feel like they're a part of the corporate culture. But it's just a simple thing, but I think it's really important.
hmm. That has to be quite an investment in dollars and time.
It is. So we have 87 employees today, and we have over 100 consultants that we work with. And we still send handwritten birthday cards to all of our employees, all of their children under 18, and anniversary cards for wedding anniversaries. So it's definitely not easy to do that. Sometimes we make mistakes and send cards to the wrong address and have to resend them, but I think it's worth every penny and every minute of time it takes to do that.
Great. So as we get ready to wrap up, uh, any closing thoughts about if you were wanting to sit in your chair or if you're thinking about coming in this industry that you'd share with our listeners?
I'll kind of circle back to what I said in the beginning about reaching out for help and reaching out to your peer groups. I think people like me and JR and others in our industry are going to be so willing to help, um, and so willing to share their knowledge and also potentially partner with you in the future, that don't hesitate to reach out for help.
Great. Well, last thing before I let you go, and greatly appreciate spending some time with us. We're trying to collect the voices of the industry leaders in government contracting. Give us a couple names of people who stick out for you that you think should be on our guest list to learn from them.
Okay, sure. There's so many of them, and I think it kind of depends on, are you looking for small business, large business? Because we're almost in completely different businesses. But From our network at the Homeland Security and Defense Business Council, we have a ton of great leaders on that council, including Cece DeCamp. I think she'd be a great one to talk to. She's an executive vice president at IBM for their federal practice. John Sod at Guidehouse similarly is an executive there and is known for amazing capture efforts and being well connected in the communities. And locally, we have a lot of local small business leaders I'd recommend, like Robert Johnson at Claxton, and there's many others, but I think you have a huge pool of great candidates to choose from.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I put together a short list and it ended up being 200 names. So we've got about 4 years worth of guests in the can already. But I want to start inviting the people that our guests recommend and bringing those voices into our dialogue. All right. Well, I think there's a lot of richness in this few minutes that we spent together that you shared, and we're all going to be better leaders, better government contractors for it. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.